What is up? Welcome back to Tomahawk'd. I am your host, Rob Fox, joined as always by Dan Holloway. And I feel really bad because I've been forgetting to do this for since we were in Miami. But thank you to Big Dick Danoff for getting me this hat, this Milwaukee Braves World Series 1957 hat. I wear it fucking constantly. You've probably seen it on the show, on every show I'm on a million times. But I've been forgetting to thank Big Dick Danoff over and over again.
Yeah, he gave me one as well. Super nice.
Yeah, they were dope hats. And your signed Dale Murphy jersey, we just have to go get it shadow boxed, which is both expensive and time consuming because we're nowhere near fucking Michaels or whatever.
Yeah. And I'm not sure we're allowed back after having Pete Rose, Dennis Rodman, and O.J. Simpson jerseys framed.
Yeah, at that point, they're not fans. You hope that, at least with one of them, I was like, I don't think this woman knows who this person is. That's what you got to hope for at a Michaels. Yeah. That is just a very artsy lady who's like, oh, fun.
Yeah, well,
baseball.
We're doing our best here.
Fortunately, Dale Murphy's a Mormon.
I feel like that should have rounded it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I think, isn't Hobby Lobby owned by Mormons?
Definitely aggressive Christians.
Yeah, they're not fans of not Christian people.
I mean, they'll hire ISIS sometimes to go pick up some artifacts, if I recall correctly.
Oh, is that real?
Yeah, maybe they were stealing them from ISIS, but yeah, they were when ISIS took over the Levant. The Hobby Lobby was sending people in to get all the artifacts they could.
This is the weirdest episode of Indiana Jones ever.
I know.
Doesn't make any sense.
This belongs in a Hobby Lobby.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're here to talk about baseball today, not Indiana Jones. So let's get into it. First off, nice little doubleheader sweep the other day, and then took care of business pretty easy against the Rockies, which I kind of, it's with a team like the Rockies, they suck. You can never really, it's you can never assume a double play. You can never assume a sweep.
Sure.
But I'll be very much disappointed if we don't just take all four. These guys are fucking hapless.
Yeah, they're not great. But, it's, I don't know. Sweeping a team is difficult.
It is.
It is what it is. Yeah, and that's the thing about baseball. It is.
We lost 2 or 3 to the A's.
Yeah, well, that just happens with bad pitching sometimes. But it is truly an any given day kind of game. That's not true about. I don't think it's true about football or basketball.
It's certainly not true about the NBA.
Yeah,
you could have an any given day in college basketball.
Yeah,
but the NBA, if a team loses to a worse team, it's because they weren't trying.
I think in the and it to some degree it is true in the NBA, but in baseball, one stellar or shitty performance from your pitcher can, win or lose you a game without anybody else really having much to say about it. So.
Yeah. The thing is, though, is that I don't think Colorado has anyone that can do that. So it would have to be one of our guys shitting the bed.
I mean, Ozuna's due for something stupid.
That's true. Ozuna might accidentally,
spike himself?
Yeah, or, somehow stab Spencer Strider in the head. Just somehow. You know what I mean? Breaks his bat, walks back into the dugout, trips, falls, bat handle right in Spencer Strider's temple.
I could see it.
It's always a possibility with Marcell Ozuna.
He's the worst. I really don't like the fact that he's still on our team, honestly. I was hoping we would have straightened that out by now, but I guess we're just going to run with it.
I think so. I saw people kind of talking about this the other day. Or I'm sorry, it was a blog post I read about Braves' potential moves for the lineup or whatever, and I just don't think we're going to make any bat moves.
I don't know. Well, it depends, I don't think the teams that have bats that I would want are doing too well.
Yeah,
Arizona and Pittsburgh specifically, so I'm not sure they're going to come up off of either of those people. Now, there is a kid in Oakland, but we've stolen so much from them already. I don't know how much more we can take.
It's just at this point, you might as well just be like, hey, Oakland A's fans, why don't you just become Atlanta Braves fans?
Yeah, they should.
Same letter on the hat. We have half your players. You might as well.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know that there's a big enough upgrade out there. And then even if there is, you got to find somebody to take. If you're trying to get rid of Ozuna, he's still got another year on his contract, I think.
Yeah. Well, and there's just the fact that he's hitting. So, I mean, they're not, in terms of production, they're not going to get him out of the lineup. The only person who you could even remotely say is under threat potentially of leaving the lineup is Rosario, because we have a lefty-righty platoon that's better at defense that could replace him tomorrow in Pilar and Hilliard. So other than that, I mean, the lineup, I don't see any changes being made to the lineup barring an injury.
Probably not, no. But there have been changes made about the order.
Yes.
So
that was kind of the big news this week.
Yeah, Matt Olson moved from second in the order down to fifth. I mean, I get it, I guess. He strikes out a lot.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I see the title's Matt Olson demoted. Obviously, he wasn't demoted to AAA, and I don't think moving to fifth in the order is necessarily a demotion. But he is not necessarily – he's having a very good year still, but he's not necessarily doing what we thought he would do, which is basically hit for a higher average than he's hitting for.
Yeah, I mean, he's I don't know what his whiff rate was last year, but he's striking out a lot. Let's see, 92, 263.
I think he leads the league in strikeouts, if I recall.
It's 35%.
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, that's too much. Like, you got to put the fucking bat on the ball. But, honestly, April and May, even May, where he took a bit of a downturn, average-wise, he struck out a little bit less and hit one more home run. And I don't think the Braves or any other major league team is going to complain if you have 8 or 9 home runs and 20 RBI a month.
No.
Because 8 home runs a month is 48 on the season, basically.
He's having a great year, but I think what they thought was he was going to be more of a two-hitter in terms of on-base percentage, which is still roughly there. He's kind of top 50 in on-base percentage in the league and fourth on the Braves. 349 still kind of below what I think you would want out of the two-hole, but overall it's not an abysmal on-base percentage. But he's essentially he's not hitting like a two-hitter. He's hitting like a five-hitter.
Yeah. But he is a five. He's not a two-hitter.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. I mean, we moved Ozzy up there. That one is puzzling to me. He's never, I think throughout his career, the higher he hits in the order, the worse he does typically. And
we've tried to put him there before quite a bit. It was kind of the Acuna Albies. When we first started batting Acuna leadoff, Albies was, I think, the number 2 guy behind him for a long time because we didn't want to move Freeman out of the 3-hole. But Ozzy, I think, so I don't know that Ozzy's going to stick in the 2-hole. I think they put him in the 2-hole yesterday for 2 reasons. One, the pitcher was a lefty. Yeah. So Ozzy Albies is like the best hitter in the league when a left-hander's on the mound, and he can be turned around to the right side of the plate because he's a switch hitter. Also, his numbers in June have just been fantastic in general, left or right. 174 WRC plus, slashing 326, 418, 630, 4 homers, 10 runs, 11 RBIs in 13 games, including that game-winning fucking nuke against the Mets that he hit. He's just on fire right now, and I think they thought he's hit there before. B, he's probably one of the more flexible guys about moving around in the order. But I think overall, we talked before. Overall, he's never been a big on base percentage guy.
Yeah. But he might be the best situational hitter on the team.
In terms of being in the lineup every day, I absolutely think so. I think the only one you can make a better argument for is d'Arnaud being just the sort of guy who takes really good at bats at the right moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ozzy, typically an excellent hitter.
Well, I'm not
knowing the situation.
I'm not sure what's going on with d'Arnaud right now. He's not getting a lot of at bats.
He isn't. It's odd. I mean, well, okay. I understand why they're trying to put Murphy in there as much as possible.
Sure. but he's not losing at bats to Murphy. He's losing them to Ozuna.
Yeah. And, I mean, I guess Ozuna's numbers have been through the roof in the last month, essentially, trailing 30. So I think there's just, only so many ABs to go around since specifically Ozuna is so useless that he cannot play left field. Like, you cannot put him in left field, which means d'Arnaud either has to take Murphy out of the lineup, take Ozuna out of the lineup, and that's it.
Yeah. I just don't like Ozuna. I think he's a terrible person.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck how many home runs he hits. Every time I see his fucking stupid face, even if it's a positive outcome for the team, it makes me angry.
I mean, he's a fucking idiot and kind of seems like a piece of shit. I mean, it is what it is at this point. Like, they're not going to cut him. But yeah, d'Arnaud's not getting the ABs. I think d'Arnaud would be an ideal 2-hitter, though, if he was getting regular ABs. Obviously, you don't want Ozuna in the 2-hole. The other guys who are ahead of ahead of Olson in on base percentage are Acuna, but he's staying where he is. And then it's Murphy and Arcia. Would you think about Arcia batting second at all?
Yeah, I mean, I like having him at the bottom of the order, too. To be honest, if it were me making the lineup, I think I would probably go Acuna, Arcia, then Albies, and then have your corner guys 4 and 5. Flip-flopped maybe if it's a lefty-righty kind of situation, but I think...
And then Murphy down at 6.
I honestly, Austin Riley is not a 3-hole hitter at this point in his career yet. He's not consistent enough to be in that position.
He has kind of taken a step back in terms of that because last year he was very much like he was almost like Freddie Freeman-esque, right? Like he had power, but he also was hitting situationally. This year he seems to be more focused on power, I guess you could say.
Which is funny because his power numbers are way down from last year. So maybe focus on something else.
It's you kind of got to work backwards, right? Mm-hmm. Like you just work on making good contact, getting hits, etc. Arcia, by the way, is also hitting well over 300, I think, like 320 something. I think one reason, like I said, I don't think it's the on-base percentage that is bothering them with Olson. I think it's the batting average because Acuna is getting on base over 40% of the time. He's got an on-base percentage over 400, which means if he walks or just gets a base hit, there's a decent chance he's on second base considering how many bases he's stealing. At that point, you don't need Matt Olson up there trying to swing the biggest fucking dick in the building, right? Yeah. Like, you just need a fucking base hit.
You need a guy that can hit behind the runner.
Yeah.
Which Arcia is pretty good at.
Yeah.
And so is Albies. But Arcia from the right side of the plate is particularly good at it.
And I think that's what they're looking for. And then, you can just keep moving the line, and then 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you've got the power, right? Mm-hmm. You've got the dudes who any one of them can hit the ball 400 plus feet. I that to me is what I think I'm seeing here. It's really funny because you think batting average is like this dead stat, but they obviously, what Anthopoulos and Snitker want is someone who's going to get a base hit.
Yeah, I mean that's that for the 2-hole, it makes sense. Like Freddie Freeman is a first baseman in the 2-hole. That's not common, but he doesn't strike out that much, like 100, 110 times a year, maybe something like that. At this rate, I think Olson's probably going to strike out 170 to 200, something like that.
Right.
It's way too fucking much for a guy that's batting almost always with runners on base, whether it's Arcia, Harris, or Acuna. And again, I don't think it's just the 2-hole that's the problem. I think Austin Riley in 3 doesn't make sense to me. And historically in his career, it doesn't make sense either. So he's in the 3-hole, he hits a home run every 17.4 at bats. And in bats, last year batted 235 in that position. In the 4-hole, he hit a home run every 13.2 at bats, and he hit 338 in that position. And those numbers are carrying over into this year, even though it's something of a smaller sample size between 3 and 4. He's hitting 252 in the 3-hole and 333 in the 4-hole. Mm-hmm. That is where he fucking belongs. and it doesn't like his OPS in the 4-hole is 916. It's 737 in the 3-hole. Maybe it's a coincidence over the entire career, right? But I feel like if you see those numbers on paper, you got to do something about them, and I'm hoping that they do because that he belongs in the 4 slot. And then having Olson behind him, you can't walk him to get to the next guy because Olson's going to hit a 450-foot home run. I think you're still protected there, and then even Olson in the 5-hole, there's Murphy behind him.
Right.
If they aligned it that way, right? So it's right, left, right in the heart of your order, and you still have all those crushers. Then you got all or whomever else at the back end of your lineup as well. At least Harris is going to be getting on base then because he's tearing it up now too.
It is, and it is disappointing to see. And it might be just being from how much was Riley batting third last year? Was it most of the year?
He hit. Let's see. He hit third for 400 of his at bats, and then fourth for 200 of his at bats.
Okay, so 2/3 of the year he hit third hole last year. He had fine numbers last year. Last year was actually his best season by WRC plus, but he did regress in on base percentage and slugging and batting average compared to 21 when he was batting fourth, I believe. Right?
Yeah. So 392 of his at bats in the 4-hole, and 21, 309, 904 OPS. Every single year of his career, he's been better batting fourth.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is going on with this team? The Braves have historically made plenty of dumbass decisions, and right now they have more talent on their team than they ever have in the history of the franchise, and they're still making dumb decisions. Now, granted, it's in the middle of the season, but how can you look 21, 22, and so far this year consistently 40 to 50% better in the 4-hole than you are in the 3-hole, and you're still hitting third? Why?
Yeah.
What's the fucking purpose of that?
Honestly, if it was me, I would say punt on Riley in the 3-hole. I would stack Murphy at 3 and put Riley 4, Olson 5. I don't really want to move Murphy all the way down to 6 and lose those at bats.
Yeah.
The way he's hitting.
No, he would be good in 3. And,
especially, by the way, I think something that might not last year so much, but
I wouldn't mind Murphy in 2, to be honest.
Same, yeah. With the way he gets on base and makes contact and everything like that. I mean, he would be an excellent 2-hitter. I think you just need to front load the lineup with your on base guys, and then just put the power danger on the back half, essentially. Obviously, 1 through 9, this is a fucking insane lineup. Even when you put secondary guys in like Pilar, who had RBIs last night, or Hilliard, who kind of exists, I guess, or d'Arnaud. I mean, any of those guys, it's good to go. But I do like that they are thinking strategically with what is going on after Ronald Acuna gets on base.
Yeah, kind of.
Now.
I mean, now, yeah. After fucking 2.5 months. But, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's going on. There's a lot of season left. And it seems like they've been mostly focused on pitching in the bullpen.
Mm-hmm. Well, the lineup can kind of take care of itself, I think, to a large extent.
To some degree. But I like your job as a manager is to put people in a position to succeed. And looking at Austin Riley's career numbers, where they're so much better in the 4-hole, like it doesn't make any sense to me. I just don't. The Braves managers have always fucking sucked.
Like
always.
Tactically.
They've always been terrible. Bobby Cox was the worst human being at managing a bullpen I've ever seen in my life. Freddie Gonzalez didn't know what he was doing.
Freddie Gonzalez, I'm not sure, can read.
No, he's a bench coach in Baltimore or some shit now? Yeah. He like that guy doesn't even belong in baseball. He should be filing paperwork somewhere.
It does feel like people who hire Freddie Gonzalez at this point are running a daycare for him.
And Snitker's never been particularly good at anything managerial except for being liked by all the players, which isn't necessarily your job, bud.
I mean, keeping the clubhouse. Him and Cox are both good clubhouse guys. They keep the clubhouse. They keep people focused, calm, etc. Which makes
for good regular season teams.
It does, yeah. I mean, and that
But Tony La Russa's a cunt. That's why he's got 4 world titles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just the difference. He won, let's see, where did 4,
he won
right?
2 in St.
2
Louis.
in St. Louis and 2 in Oakland, I believe. Or no, just 1 in Oakland.
Yeah,
89.
yeah.
That's right.
So
he didn't win one with Chicago, right? He wasn't there yet.
No,
that was that Ozzie Guillen?
Yeah. He won one with the Cardinals the year after the White Sox won again.
Yeah, but that's how you win multiple titles. You're a fucking hard ass. Like,
is Bochy a hard ass?
yes. Yeah. I mean, look at his mustache.
He seemed pretty gruff, yeah.
You don't rock a mustache like that unless your ass is hard.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Dusty Baker is the nicest guy in the world. Just got his first World Series last year.
After 90 years in baseball, yeah. Maybe that's the lesson, right? I don't know. But anyways, yeah, these are all first world problems the Braves have.
They certainly are. And I think the one last thing I'll say about Riley and his batting in the 4-hole, I do wonder if he has regressed because with Acuna and Freeman in front of him Freeman specifically hitting in front of him, he was batting with someone on base more. And now with Olson, he's batting with someone on base less frequently, I guess.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, that could be something to it, but who knows? Next up, the Braves are committing white genocide. They're murdering baseballs.
Yeah, well, the baseballs are white.
Yes. With a little bit of red in them.
Yeah, but that's like from inappropriate relationships, I think.
True. I think it's just enough red to get free college, though. The Braves, according to Jared Chavez, have hit 20 home runs of at least 430 feet. The next closest team is 14 with the Rockies, and they hit 13 of those 14 at Coors Field. I swear to God, that home run that Acuna hit in Detroit the other day, could 460 feet look more effortless? Like, it's fucking insane. When Soler murdered that baseball in the World Series, that was a violent swing, right? Like that, it was not effortless. It was beautiful and wonderful, but like he was violent with it. Acuna just puts the barrel on the ball, and it's like it's a fucking bouncy ball you get out of a machine at Pizza Hut.
Yeah. Yeah, some guys, I remember this from going to like major league tryout camps and stuff when I was in high school. So I started as a freshman, I started getting invited by the Reds and some other teams, and just you show up and it's like a summer camp. There's a million dudes there. And you can always tell who performed well by who the scouts would pull aside at the end and discuss things. But they used these. This is in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, so they were using these composite wooden bats. They weren't, it wasn't just like a piece of white ash or oak or maple or any of that stuff. It was like shredded wood, and then they pressed it back together somehow with some kind of epoxy, I guess. I don't know what the fuck it was.
Yeah.
But it sounded and performed more or less like a wooden bat. It just didn't break because they didn't want to fucking have idiot high schoolers out there breaking bats all day.
Yeah.
But you could tell, like, some guys would get into the batter's box and start taking swings, and the sound was just different.
Yeah.
It sounded like an explosion every time they hit the fucking ball.
Like the sound barrier being broken, fucking sonic boom.
Yeah, it was just different. Whatever it was different. And, Acuna's always been one of those guys. And that's always been kind of the rub for me with him is, like, you're more talented than anybody in the league except for maybe Ohtani, and maybe put a little effort in, right? And I think missing all that time, I think specifically missing a World Series title, fucking got him. It shook the cobwebs loose, I guess, if you want to call it that. Like, hey, you got to take this shit seriously, dude. And he's been on a fucking warpath this year.
That ESPN article that they had a couple weeks ago was pretty heartbreaking. Like, reading about him just, like, being in bed, like, crying for weeks. His mom's just on the side, like, giving him whatever Venezuelans eat.
Chicken, probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. just like giving him food and just being like, it's okay. And he's just like having the worst time of his life, literally, probably. It really sounded like from that story. It's a great, you can Google it. Came out probably a month ago, 3 weeks ago. Great article. Highly recommend reading it. That really did sound like that changed him and made him, as mature as a 25-year-old could be, more or less. But I mean, goddamn. And then you've got, I know we just talked, not necessarily shit on him, but Olson, like that is just a free and easy sweet. That home run he hit last night, I've never seen someone hit it to that part of the park before.
Yeah, I didn't even see it. I heard it. So I was cooking.
Yeah.
I think I was making bread, actually. But I heard it and immediately looked up. I'm like, oh, shit, he hit the Christ out of that ball. I think that's exactly what I said, too, because Joel started laughing at the way I was talking. Man, he really got on that one. That was a shot. But it doesn't look like he swings very hard.
No, it doesn't. Like, he swings pretty easy, too. And granted, he is at least, like, a giant man. He's not necessarily like McGuire jacked, but he's just like long and strong. And then the one he hit the other day, do you remember in the LCS in 21 when Jock hit that fucking bomb off Scherzer?
Yeah.
And I remember watching that and being like, I don't think I've ever seen someone hit a ball that far into the chop house. Olson puts him on the roof like regularly.
Pretty
now.
routinely, yeah. I'm waiting for him to really get a hold of one because I think he can hit it completely out of the stadium, probably.
Agreed.
I mean, that's completely out of the stadium is going to be like 480, probably something like that, based on the because he hit one that was 478 and it landed about it was like a third or two or a half of the way on top of the building out there.
Yeah.
So I figure another 10 feet or so that'll probably do it. That would be interesting to see. But yeah, he's 6'5". He's a big dude.
And then I'm trying to think. Damn it! So he said someone else had a couple too. Chavez did. I'll fucking look it up real quick. I can't remember.
On top of the chop house or just
over
runs?
430, like dudes who were just crushing balls essentially.
Vlad Guerrero, maybe.
No, I meant just with the Braves.
Oh yeah. Over 430. That's a good question. I wonder who it is.
Here we go. Let's see the thread here. Okay, so Ozuna also has 4, which he sucks, but he does hit the Christ out of the ball when he actually decides to connect with it. Acuna has 7, Ozuna has 4, Olson has 4, and then the other, our old friend Jorge Soler has 5.
Yeah, of course. I mean but he swings hard as fuck every single time. It's not a free and effortless swing with him. He's 6'5" and like 245 maybe 240, and he screws himself into the ground on every single swing.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved watching it because it's just funny and fun. I will always love Jorge Soler. Yeah. It's honestly breaking my heart every day I see him hit a home run. My heart breaks a little bit because I'm just like, I want you back. We have the wrong giant man on our team. It shouldn't be Ozuna.
Yeah.
But yeah, Soler though, I mean, he really does swing just like totally violently, and so does Ozuna for that matter. Ozuna swings out of his fucking shoes too. But yeah, man, it's funny to me, I kind of, the only thing that bothers me about this is that like I hope it's just incidental, because there's no actual value to hitting a ball 450 feet.
Yeah, no.
As opposed to 400 feet.
No.
So
well, that's what. What's his fucking name? I think it was Dan Ugla used to talk about that back in the day. He was like, I'm small, so I'm just going to swing as hard as I fucking can every single time because the only value I'm going to have is hitting home runs. It's like, all right, cool, man. I mean, it worked for a couple of years. So
it did, yeah. I mean, he did all right. You can, although that one year for the Braves, he did hit about 30 home runs, but he also hit like 198. It was essentially like all of his hits were home runs.
Yeah.
Just a fucking nightmare.
179. He hit 22 home runs. But that was the last year, the last productive year he had. I think the Braves traded him the following year.
Man, I was so hyped when he made that Dan Ugla trade. I was like, here we go.
Well, the first year he hit 233, but he hit 36 home runs.
You take that every day.
Yeah.
Especially out of it. And for what it was worth with Ugla, I always felt bad for him. His defense was terrible also.
Yeah.
Very bad defender. He should have been like a DH or a first baseman. But God bless him. Always ran down the line. Which, honestly, he stole a couple base hits. Like, he hurried infielders up because he busted his ass down the line. Now, granted, it doesn't matter when you're hitting 179, but
yeah,
it is what it is. But, yeah, I think is really what this is a product of is it seems to me that the Braves have done what Billy Beane used to do in the past, which is they found one hitting statistic that they really liked, and they honed in on it. And for this one, it appears to be exit velocity or barrel rate or hard hit. Just something where the ball's hit as hard as it could be possibly fucking hit. That's what they want. Dudes who nuke balls.
I mean, especially now without the shift, it makes sense. Hit the ball hard and just what else can you really do?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because, I mean, you can hit the ball 115 miles an hour into this shift, but if somebody's fucking there, somebody's fucking there. It's a professional. You're not going to – it's like kicking a ball out of goalie's chest, right? Like, it's going to get stopped. It doesn't matter how hard you fucking kick it, dude. Like, he's not going to fly back into the goal like it's a fucking cartoon.
No.
But, yeah, I think that's interesting. I think it's fun, and it's good. It's a good show, right, to see Olson and Acuna nuke baseballs, even though it still counts for the same amount as a guy who squeaks it over the wall. But I think it's an interesting product of the fact that they and further proof that they really fucking honed in on hard hit balls. That's what they wanted. The same way Beane wanted launch angle or something like that back in the day, and then before that, obviously on base percentage. Before we move on, we do have a sponsor. That is mybookie.com. Go to mybookie.com today and use the promo code Drinking Bros, where you can double your first deposit up to $1,000. So if you put in $1,000, they'll give you a free $1,000 to play with. You put in $50, they'll give you a free $50, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's where we do all our gambling. We got the U.S. Open going on right now. Delco Dan has his picks in. I cribbed a few from him just to buy a couple lottery tickets for the Open. I've been betting baseball parlays. I keep missing by fucking one, dude. The goddamn Cincinnati Reds coming back against the Dodgers. I think scoring 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th cost me fucking $1,000 the other day. I only lost $50, but cost me the possibility of $1,000, which was goddamn infuriating. Like, I didn't even keep checking the scores. Like, the Dodgers are up 3. It's going in the 9th. We're fucking against the Reds. I don't give a shit if Ellie De La Cruz is playing or not.
Yeah.
But is what it is. I'll probably bet some more. Actually, I want to look at the scoreboard. There's some good. I like it when there's really lopsided series going on. Braves Rockies are one of them. That's juicy. Orioles Cubs, not a bad matchup there. Even though I don't like today's pitching matchup. Actually, Cole Irvin has a 7.85 ERA. Hendricks is pitching pretty well. Let's see. Rockies Braves I like. Angels Royals, love that. The Reds have been kind of hot. They're playing the Astros in Houston. I don't know how I feel about that.
That's a toss-up for me.
Yeah. The Rays in San Diego tonight with McClanahan on the mound. I'll take the Rays. And then
I'll take the Mariners. White Sox Mariners.
Yeah.
Easy. Even though the Mariners are throwing their worst guy out today.
10 ERA.
But that's in limited time. The White Sox are fucking terrible.
Oh, here's one I like. Diamondbacks at home against the Guardians with Gallen on the mound.
That's pretty good. That's a good win. The Indians have been trending upward lately, I think, but they're young. They don't have a whole lot of pitching. Yeah,
I mean, and they're 4 games under 500. And the Diamondbacks, to their credit, will not go away. They have Gallen, who actually has dropped off a little bit. I would not call him the Cy Young front runner anymore. ERA over 3, been kind of cold lately. But Corbin Carroll, certainly going to get MVP votes, I think, this year.
Yeah, he's an interesting character, that guy. He's fast as fuck.
Yeah.
And his numbers over the first, I think, 100 games of his career are commensurate with Mike Trout's, although he's like 2 years and a month older
than when Trout came up.
Yeah, but still, he didn't have the benefit. Like, he missed an entire year of minor league baseball because there wasn't minor league baseball his first year,
right?
Which was 2020. So very impressive dude. He's going to be a star in this league for some time to come. If he doesn't win MVP this year, he probably will at some point. And
I'm kind of at the point now where I don't think the Diamondbacks are going away. Like, I think they're a playoff team.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as much because of themselves as the fact that the Padres have just fucking sucked this year. They're still bad.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't. The Giants have been on a decent run lately. They pushed themselves up over 500 for the first time this year. Padres are still 2 games under 500, 7.5 out of the West. I don't know. I mean, look, it's still only middle of June, but they're struggling right now. And a team like that, they have the highest payroll. It's like $283 million or something like that. What moves are you going to go make to get this right?
Right.
I don't know what the fucking plan is.
And it's not like their pitching staff stinks either. The Padres, like, I mean, they've got dudes. Like, I mean, Yu Darvish is, kind of over the hill, but not terrible. He's going tonight. Musgrove, Snell. That's not the worst top. That's a serviceable top 3. And then, yeah, look, it's essentially the Padres are proof that just because you write checks doesn't mean you're a competent front office.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, what they're reminiscent of, even though this team, I guess, did eventually win a World Series. It's kind of like the 04 to 08 Yankees. You know what I mean? Just writing checks.
Yeah.
Not really doing smart team building, just bringing anyone in they could, essentially.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's not – maybe it's just a coincidence. Well, Tatis was out for a while.
And he's crushing now.
He's slugging .555. You can live with that. On-base percentage of .350, basically. But Soto has struggled. He's kind of turned it around a little bit lately. Still getting on base well, but Machado and Bogaerts are both having right now the worst years of their career, basically.
Yeah.
And that's your 3-4 guys who account for like $65 million in payroll. They're both simultaneously having the worst years of the career. And then it gets Cronenworth is a decent player, but he's on the slide this year as well. And their lineup gets real thin after 1 through 4. I mean,
right.
Real thin. Like Hans Kim is good, but probably should be hitting 8th or 9th in the lineup. He's hitting 5th. And then you have 43-year-old Nelson Cruz, and Trent Grisham and Aaron Nola are all hitting under 200. So it's like, all right, cool, man.
There's a lot. Now that you mention it, there are a lot of dudes at third base who have been studs in the past who are having trash years this year. Arenado, surprisingly bad year at third. Machado, like you said, unfortunately, Austin Riley, pretty down. Now, Bregman's been down for a couple years, but he's still having a pretty mid-ass year, 240, 338, 382 slugging percentage. Jesus Christ. Rafael Devers is hitting 247. Granted, he does have 17 home runs, so credit where credit is due, but that's basically all he's doing. His Rafael Devers on-base percentage is 301. So he's, yeah. And then, like the top 2 guys, Jose Ramirez and Matt Chapman, in wins above replacement for third baseman, they're excellent. They're still playing excellently. But everyone else in the top, I mean, it gets pretty grim pretty fast for third base this year. Interestingly, but is what it is. So yeah, Padres, who the fuck knows with them, man. But yeah, I will lock that in and put that in the group. I'll put my bet in the group. Anyway, just a couple injury updates and possible moves going on with the Braves. Not a lot of news aside from the lineup stuff. Max Fried has been throwing since May, but still not off a mound. So I think they're just working him back slow. I mean, and then Kyle Wright has just been cleared to throw again. So he'll start throwing again, I don't know, today or tomorrow or something like that. At this point, you're 5 games up. The guys filling into the rotation, Chavez, everyone else. I mean, they're plugging the gap, and you're in the easiest part of your schedule.
Yeah.
There doesn't need to be any urgency right now.
It's going to be hard to pull Chavez out of the rotation because he's got a .98 WHIP.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he's pitched against 2 of the worst teams in baseball so far. We'll see how it carries over, but WHIP. I think he's still got problems with his command, and the fact that his whip is only .98 means that he's doing good situational pitching, getting double plays, getting pop-ups, and not letting runners advance and stuff like that.
Well, and also just, I guess, probably you could say keeping his cool, working deep into counts, right? He's not getting nervous when he's got 2 balls, 3 balls.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to give a shit about any of that stuff. I mean, same thing with Strider and Elder, actually. Elder looks like he's red in the face all the time, so I kind of got used to it, but he doesn't really react negatively to when things go poorly for him.
No. I mean, Elder is like an old pro at this point. I mean, Elder has been pitching. The way Elder pitches right now, he's had to pitch that way his whole life. I don't think he's ever been the best pitcher on his team, or like certainly Bryce Elder has never had the best stuff on any team he's ever been on.
And I don't know if you noticed last night, they were calling it a changeup, but Smith Chavez throwing a splitter now.
Okay.
I don't know why they keep calling it a changeup, but it's clearly a split finger fastball or a fork ball or whatever he's throwing. I don't know if you noticed on a couple of his strikeouts, the ball is running hard and away from left-handers, down and away.
Yeah.
That was not a changeup. That was a fork ball. Like I watched the replay and his fingers are split. Like, okay, cool. You're 20 years old and you're already developing a 5th pitch. That's something. He was like a third baseman in high school, and all of a sudden, it's like, hey, you want to pitch?
I'll fucking take that.
In his senior year.
Right.
It's like which was 2 years ago. All right, cool,
That's
man.
goddamn insane. He's 20, right? He can't even drink. He can't even go out drinking in the Battery.
Well, 11-20. He'll be, in November, so after the season.
So technically, if they win the World Series, he will not.
Yeah,
it will not
correct.
be legal for him.
Correct. Yeah. That's pretty funny. Although he's from Fort Worth, so I'm guessing he's done some drinking in his life.
I have to imagine so.
But yeah, that's nice. Kyle Wright hasn't been right all season. I think honestly, just the way that he's looked on the mound, it kind of seems like there's bone spurs in his shoulder or something like that, or elbow maybe.
It wouldn't surprise me to not see Wright again for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think when he starts throwing again, we'll see. Because if you're getting they shut him down for a minute, let him come back, and it just irritated his arm again. That usually means there's stuff floating around in there, and you have to go get it surgically removed. Now, it's not that in and of itself isn't necessarily a season-ending surgery, but in the middle of the year it might be.
Yeah,
we'll see. I don't know, but we're doing fine without him. I don't think it's there. Again, there's no rush. Especially Max will come back.
Oh, yeah. Max will be back this year, no question.
So it'll be our rotation is going to be Max Fried, Spencer Strider, Morton, Elder, and then Smith Shaver for a while probably, unless Wright comes back. But then, Soroka is doing well down at AAA again.
Yeah, I think he had 6 innings pitched, 6 Ks the other day. The real big blow to me right now is Chavez to the 15-day DL or IL. Or
he does eat up a lot of innings.
He's been a high-leveraged reliever this year, too, for us. I mean, it's just – I think they're going to need to try to make bullpen move. That is the one place where I don't know if the line can hold. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, that bullpen just keeps taking blows. Or they're having guys having weird seasons, right? Like, Minter looked electric the other day, but he's had weird games. Mm-hmm. Iglesias, a couple blown saves, which obviously Iglesias isn't going to be perfect, but the bullpen feels like the shakiest front. And, as much as I want him to make a move or something like that, I looked today, there are 21 teams within 4 games of a playoff spot right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, the bottom third of the playoff pool is really fucking tight right now. But that's kind of what you should expect this point in the season.
And also with the expanded standings as well. And what's shitty, though, too, is so obviously the Cardinals, Nationals, and Rockies, they're cooked. I think the Cubs probably cooked as well. The problem, though, and they're all more than 4 games out. They're 5, 8.5, 8.5, 9.5. Obviously, you can count out Oakland, Kansas City, Detroit, the White Sox, the Guardians. So maybe Klaus, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe they'll actually deal him. Although, actually, I'm sorry, the Guardians are a lot closer in the standings.
They are for now, but that won't last. They're weak.
Yeah, they're
overall.
two and a half out in the Central.
I don't know. Hold on, let me look at what Emmanuel Claze's annual Claze contract. Let's see what his contract is. I'm guessing he's still on a rookie deal. He's making 1.5 this year. When's his arbitration period begin? Oh shit. So he's in. Oh, he signed a longer term deal. So he's under team control through 2028, and the last 2 years are both club options.
Okay.
So they're gonna want something in return for him,
right?
Something big. And look, we should probably consider it. He's like a generational closer.
Yeah, I'd be very down with that. Yeah, I mean, so what's funny is like a lot of these teams that seem like they're a little more out. Like the Mariners, they're not going to sell. The Guardians would take a big price because they're still so close in the division. So there's only really 4 teams to me in the American League that you could talk to right now, which is the Sox, White Sox, Tigers, Royals, and A's. And then the National League, it's really just the Rockies, Nationals, and Cardinals, because the Padres and Mets are pretty low down in the wild card, but they're not going to sell already. They can't do that yet.
No, I mean, if it would be a coach or a manager getting fired, for that to happen, I think.
And then you have in the middle here, like the Reds, they're not going to do that to their fans. Punt on a season when they're 2.5 games out of a wild card.
Yeah, they I mean, just for the sake of keeping asses in seats, they're not going to do that.
Right, and the Phillies the same way. They're 1.5 games. Well, the Phillies should not be selling at all anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But then, after that, like it really is, there's not a lot of teams to me that are going to be sellers now or for a fucking while. So I don't know. It's going to be hard.
I think the Cardinals might sell.
They will. They have to.
I think Gallegos and even Helsley might come up.
Helsley's on the IL, and I don't think he'll play for us. And I don't think we're going to want him to play for us.
Why is that?
He was the guy that got us to stop doing the chop in 2019.
Why?
We said we were racist because he's like part Native American.
Oh, so he's a white dude.
Yes.
Whose ancestors raped Native Americans, and now he's taking umbrage with people who do choppy things.
He did grow up in Oklahoma. He might be more Native American than I.
Yeah, Helsley's definitely a native name. Get the fuck out of here. But Tyler O'Neill, he's been banged up this year.
I don't want Tyler O'Neill.
Yeah.
He hasn't looked that good to me.
No. I don't know that they have anybody on their team that I would really want. Maybe Gorman. But he's primarily an infielder and a DH, and we don't need either of those things. Although, if the Cardinals were willing to do a 1-for-1 swap for Gorman and Ozuna, I would do that all day.
Yeah.
And pay all of Ozuna's salary. Just give me the other dude, and you get the fuck out of here. Because Gorman's going to be a really good Major League Baseball player. He already is. Strikes out a lot, but he makes more contact than fucking Ozuna does.
Yeah, I don't need Marcell Ozuna anywhere in my life. But the Cardinals do. I mean, Gallegos, I guess if you wanted to take a flyer on Jordan Hicks,
somebody's going to have to teach that kid to pitch at some point.
Yeah, although we're not really in teaching mode, right? Like that's not really what we want at this point.
No, we need a shutdown setup guy right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, Hicks throws fucking 200 miles an hour, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it develops. You're not going to see a whole lot of trades made until that period between the All-Star break and the trade deadline. And I think, rightly so, the Braves just kind of want to let the dust settle a little bit, see how the rotation rounds out, see if some of the successes are maintained and some of the failures are maintained as well. Like you can't just keep running Rosario out there in left field.
It's getting well past time for me to switch to that platoon of Pilar and Hilliard. I mean, honestly, for the defense alone, you're probably going to get more value before even taking into account the fact that they both do hit well.
Yeah. I mean, Eddie's been hitting well.
Yeah.
This pretty much since the middle of May, he's been hitting pretty well. but the defense is bad. I don't know what his defensive war is, but it can't be good.
I'm sure it's bad. I mean, he doesn't do anything well. He doesn't have great range. He has no arm.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it's negative 0.3 right now, which isn't that's not
bad.
That's not as bad as I thought it would be, to be honest.
Yeah, but I think it does weight position, right? So negative 0.3 and left is not.
No,
he would be if he played the exact same, but in right field, it would be quite a bit lower. I think. I think. But yeah, I am worried about the bullpen, not necessarily like tomorrow or tonight, but cumulatively, can it hold for a month? Can it, or however long? Like that's what worries me, because if that falls, I don't know. You start dropping a couple extra games. Maybe that puts more pressure on the rotation. It's just it's not necessarily like a keystone piece, but it can cause serious ripples.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. The good news is, I think the best news actually of the past week or two is Michael Harris.
Yes.
Finally found his stroke again. He struggled a little bit. I mean, he struggled mightily in May. He was hurt most of April, a little bit of May, and then he comes back. I don't know if his back was still tight, because it's like that sometimes.
Yeah.
But what it seemed like it was his approach sucked, and he was getting out ahead of things too much.
You win Rookie of the Year, you start pushing, start trying to be an MVP, a lot of pressure.
I mean, you're hitting ninth, so maybe just calm the fuck down.
I know, yeah.
There's literally no pressure on you. The good news is his defense never wavered. But so far in June, he's over doubled his home run tally. He's hitting 327. OPS is 924. That's kind of what I expect out of him.
Yeah.
I expect him to be somewhere between 280 and 320, to be honest. The slugging percentage is high, 571 for a center fielder. That's pretty good.
That's incredible.
So, yeah, we'll see how it goes with him. He still doesn't walk very much.
Yeah, you definitely like to see more of that, especially, because he's got Acuna behind him, right?
Yeah. But then again, he's a young guy. I want him to be, with Acuna behind him, I want him to be aggressive.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get a lot of fastballs. And he's, to be honest, you're talking about the bullpen being able to carry the weight and stuff like that. When he does well, that means that there's no fucking place to hide in that lineup, which you'll see. I guarantee you, if you looked at trends, the better he does on base wise, the better the guys around him probably do as well, just because it puts more pressure on the pitcher and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, Arcia is already raking out of the 8-hole. If you got
well, he's been doing that all year,
right? So if you get Harris at 9 protecting Arcia, and then turn back around to that's a nightmare. That's a fucking night. This lineup is obscene. God, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's rare that I enjoy there's been way more seasons where I've enjoyed watching pitching more than hitting in my years as a Braves fan. This and 2003 are the two definitive years where I have enjoyed watching the lineup more than the rotation.
Yeah. But even this year, the rotation's pretty fun to watch.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Elder Strider and now Smith Shawver are all fun to watch. And then even Max, when he's in the lineup, hopefully he'll be back soon.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I'm interested to see how the bullpen does, but I don't know what moves you're gonna be able to make right now. Maybe you can get another domestic abuser in Aroldis Chapman out of Kansas City. He's throwing gas again.
Yeah, maybe. Just make the all fucking DV team.
Pretty much.
Why not?
Well, that's all I got for today.
Yeah, let's get out of here.